Hey everyone, welcome to the results video of the Narrow Coaster contest. For this contest, all the players had to build a coaster which could not be more than 8 tiles wide and all had to be built on a map that was no more than 20 tiles wide, but there was no restriction to the length of the map. So you can expect lots of narrow maps in this round and very long coasters. But yeah, as usual, I will start with the entry that got last place, and I'll finish by announcing who is the winner of this round. Alright, in last place we have this entry from Soccer Dude. He created these two inverted coasters which race each other. Not actually sure if there's any guests on the coaster. Looks like there are. Not on this coaster at least. But yeah, I saw lots of comments about the color scheme of the coaster. The color scheme of the coaster, I don't think it's really inviting. What I usually do when I make a coaster, so I make the two colors for the track the same, with a different color for the supports. It looks like it's actually one and the same ride, just with different color schemes. But yeah, I typically make the two colors for the track the same, and then with a different color for the supports. It's what probably 90% of the real world coasters use as well. I think that will generally make your coaster look nicer, rather than when you use all kinds of different colors through each other. Okay, next entry is from J Radio. J Radio also made a pair of dueling coasters. Here we see a pair of dueling wooden coasters. Again, lots of different colors used here, both for the cars and for the tracks. Again, I would recommend keeping the tracks sort of similar, maybe with a minor difference in the track color, and maybe also have a general color for the vehicles. There's now lots of different colors used, which I think for a dueling coaster, can be definitely be improved. Right, next entry is from Only Chaos DJ. He made this wooden coaster. I think it's quite a nice layout for the wooden coaster. Not really sure about the color. It's all white with just a blue stripe over here. Maybe a more wooden color would have been nice, or maybe if the track was a different color like this. I think even something like this could also work. Again, I thought in this park the colors overall were a bit chaotic because there's lots of different colors for all the rides in a small area. And to be fair, it does look a little bit like the rides have been crammed in here, especially this ride here in the corner. Alright, next entry is from DJ Wessie. DJ Wessie made this small park on the waterfront. Now, he already said in his story that he didn't have much time, so he thought it was pretty disappointing. Right, I think that might not be the best story for your park if you're already setting up the viewer for disappointment. This wooden coaster is the one that viewers had to rate. I believe it's called Zwakiki Singer, obviously based on the Zambezi Zinger, that's what it's called, right? That's the spiral lift hill. Now, as for the wooden coaster track, this is one of the default color schemes for the wooden coaster track. I always change my coasters from the default color of the track. It makes them very recognizable as a default track. And I don't know, I always find it to look a little bit lazy if you use default colors for your coaster. For example, if you just used like this, I think this is already a bit nicer. But a very small coaster, of course, not the most impressive from all the entries. So that's probably mostly why players rated it on the lower side. Okay, here's the entry from TechnoKiwi91. Now, I think this entry looks pretty cool. I love these structures and the buildings. Overall, the park has quite a nice feel to it. These gardens, they look really nice. There's of course one thing that really stands out in the park, and that's that there's barely any guests in it, which does make it feel a little bit lifeless. I think that's a shame because this coaster is really nice, and would have been nice to actually see some guests go around on it. Right, here's an entry from Penguin Weather. I believe it's the first entry from Penguin Weather in any of my contests. Now when you open the park, you're immediately greeted with messages from several guests drowning. Not really sure what that's all about. But yeah, that might not be the best way to greet your viewers. But yeah, the coaster is pretty nice. You can see it travel up here with an enormous lift hill. And then it stays quite close to the ground. It's kind of like a terrain coaster. Here in the middle it does a bit of a bigger drop. And then over here it does another terrain section before it returns back to the station. So yeah, lots of landscaping in this entry. I think the landscaping is actually done quite nicely. Maybe it would have been nice to have some more attractions here, or maybe some more things, some more eye catchers for the viewer to look at. Here's the entry from NFE. Now he gave it this real retro feel with this color palette, which is a bit washed out. Also some really old rides here, like this switchback railway. I think this is really nicely done. I quite like this track combination with the wooden coaster track with the car ride track on top. Not really sure about the color of the footers, but I think the ride design is quite nice. And this is of course a perfect ride type to emulate in a narrow coaster contest. I also quite like how he did the Ferris wheel. This is pretty interesting with this smaller Ferris wheel in the middle and the cars rotating around it. And I also really like the carousel. By the way, if you want to see more of these entries, you can download all of them from my Discord server. The link's in the video description, and Discord is completely free. I'm going through these entries quite quickly because there's quite a lot of them, and I don't want the video to be too long. Anyway, Low Poly Surf created this coaster called Flat Credit Coaster, obviously inspired by the Incredicoaster in Disneyland in Anaheim. Well, yeah, I think it looks really cool. This is a nice combination of tracks used here. I also like the color scheme for the ride. Yeah, it's pretty recognizable as the original thing with its tunnels and the launch track over the water here, and the long walkway for the guests. I think the ride itself looks really good. Also quite like how the supports are done, even though they're kept quite basic. But yeah, I think it's a really cool. I think it's a really cool recreation, as far as you can call it a recreation. Now, there's also some of the other rides recreated in the park. Here you see Goofy's Sky School, or I believe it's called Flight School. That's the real thing. And here's, I think, a dark ride. Not really sure. But yeah, I must say some of the parks that feel a little bit empty. Probably would have been nice if it was a little bit more dense with details. But still, overall, I think it's a really cool looking park. Right, next entry is from Dididi Rob. He made this really cool wooden coaster called Tidal Surge, Ride the Wave. Now, I really like how this little park sits here on the waterfront. I think the layout for the wooden coaster is quite nice. Dididi Rob also did footers for the coaster. I do recommend putting some wooden post fences under it. Not sure if they're actually enabled in this bench. Yes, they are. Because when you use those, the footers just look much nicer. Because it will make it look like the coaster is actually resting on top of these footers. So yeah, I believe Dididi Rob said he had to rush a bit, so some parts look a little bit unfinished. Yeah, probably especially the footers, for example, could have used a little touching up. I do really like the foliage over here. That's done really nicely. I also like the way the station looks. Alright, here's the entry from Immortal Cactus. Now, I thought this entry looked really nice. You can see a coaster travel up here. It's kind of like a reverse freefall coaster. But over here, I believe one of the vehicles actually does a backwards lunge and one of them does a forward lunge. Some really nice trickery used here. And something which I also love is this sliding sign over here. I believe it says Time Tower, which is the name for the roller coaster. Yeah, I think this structure here for the coaster looks brilliant. The entire part looks brilliant. There does seem to be some stuff going on here with the supports. I probably have a different version of this object than he has, so it actually shows supports here. Probably not supposed to show these. But yeah, I did have to give Immortal Cactus a small penalty because one of the coasters in this entry, this one, which also has some nice trickery, yeah, it's actually wider than 8 tiles. So yeah, that's why there's a half-point penalty. But yeah, overall, I think this was a brilliant entry. I just love the way it looks with all these nice decorations, all the weird hacky rides. It was definitely one of my favorite entries of the round. Okay, next entry is from Skiva. He made this RMC coaster with this huge concrete structure over here used for the station. Also really like the first hill. It travels over this big tower here, kind of like a brutalist style of architecture. Oh yeah, the rest of the park, pretty basic. There's some paths here, lots of dense foliage. I quite like the foliage in the park. You can see a little transfer track here. But yeah, other than that, I thought the park wasn't that remarkable. The landscaping is pretty good. I quite like that. Skiva also did footers for this ride. Again, I would probably put them on wooden post fences just to make it look like their track is actually resting on top of the footers. That probably would have made it look a little bit nicer. But yeah, overall, pretty nice entry from Skiva. Okay, next entry is from 94 Supreme Posse. Yeah, he created Ring Racer, which was a launched coaster at, I believe it was at the Nuremberg Ring. But yeah, it only operated for a few days, I believe, because it just had so many problems. And the ride layout of the ride also wasn't really very remarkable. It was just one launch, then there was this turnaround, and after that it returned back to the station. But yeah, I do think it's a perfect ride to recreate for this contest, as it fits perfectly in the criteria for the Narrow Coaster contest. Yeah, I think it's recreated really nicely. I love the way these vehicles are done with this nose piece hooked up to these limb-launched coaster vehicles, and also it has a nice spoiler on the back. Yeah, I really like when people create these custom vehicles using the right vehicle editor by just cutting and pasting track pieces together from different rides. Really nicely done. Right, next entry is from Lurker. Lurker made this really long entry, which is sort of like a timeline park. So over here we have this old ride, which is like this switchback railway. Then I guess we go a little bit further in time, where the park has a wooden coaster. The coaster track also has several colors used through each other. Now, I'm not really sure about the color of the footers. I probably would have just gone for a gray color, or maybe the darker brown, or maybe just white, something like that. Not really sure. This is a nice color for the footers. But I do like the layout for the wooden coaster. Yeah, it's just your typical wooden coaster layout with some airtime hills throughout. Yeah, it just looks really nice. Over here we have this inverted impulse coaster. And then here at the end we have the most modern coaster, which is the single rail coaster. Well, yeah, in typical Lurker style, just really nice foliage, nice decorations everywhere. And the park just looks really charming. Alright, for the next entry, Herbert and Kanaifa teamed up to create this coaster. Looks like a big coaster which uses the Hyper Twister Trains cars. And yeah, it's a pretty simple layout, just a succession of hills. But I do think it looks really good, especially with all these custom supports. Also some nice banking over here on top of the hill. I quite like this turnaround. It's pretty simple, but it does fit in the 8 tiles that players could use. Here's some more hills, some twists throughout the layout. Also some interaction with other rides, with this log flume here, for example. That's really nice. Goes around this Condor ride. So yeah, I think the ride has some nice interaction, and I think in general it just looks great. Looks very modern. Yeah, I think it's really nice, especially for example these supports over here. They're also done really nicely. So yeah, it's a wonderful entry from Herbert and Kanaifa. Right, next entry is from Astray Live. I believe it's the first contest which he entered, and something which I really liked was how he did these waves here in the water. He actually used the geyser object, and yeah, the way most animated objects in the map work is that basically there's just a grid moving through the map on which these animated objects are timed, and yeah, because of that, it actually looks like there's a wave that's crashing into the coastline. I think that's really cool. Now, a really long map with lots of rides. No, not going to go through all of them, but I can probably just quickly show them. Here we have a wooden coaster. Pretty nice. Here we have this star flyer. Here we have spinning wild mouse. Here's another shoestring ride. Some launched free falls. Here's a ride which I always like to make. It's called Cliffhanger. Now this was actually the coaster that people had to rate. It's kind of like a Vekoma coaster. It's called Surge. There's 11 inversions. Yeah, there's tons of inversions in this layout. I think it's a really cool looking ride and a really nice layout for the ride as well. I think it looks pretty imposing here. Really nice. And also has some nice path interaction here with this dive loop over the path. But yeah, there's actually several more rides in the park. There's just a lot to explore here. But yeah, I really like this park, and I thought this wave trick was really cool. Alright, here's the entry from SolX. This is probably the smallest entry that we got. And for his entry we had to rate this ride called Something Templey. I think this ride looks really cool with these temple decorations behind it. It's definitely pretty templey. And yeah, I actually also quite like the different colors that were used for some of these elements. It's a really well decorated ride, I think. Yeah, I really love these temple pieces here for the station. But yeah, it's basically surrounding the entire coaster. I think this would be a really cool ride to see, but also to ride. There's also some other rides traveling around in the park. This ride didn't even fit on the map, so it actually continues outside of the map for a bit. But yeah, there's tons and tons of decorations here. He also put lots of advertisement signs, most of them actually named after other members on our community. So I think that's really funny. Yeah, a wonderful entry from SolX. Alright, here's the entry you saw at the beginning of the video. This is the entry from Beautiful Monday. Let's just follow this coaster around for a while. But yeah, it's one of your typical accelerator coasters. Well, I say typical, that's because the layout is pretty typical. But yeah, the surroundings are not very typical. Yeah, it's just a beautiful looking map. I just love the way this station looks. Looks very artistic. Especially this path here looks so nice. Also with some foliage out here in space. I love this archway. Yeah, just lots of decorations here. I think it's really clever to use these abstract pieces, but also with the void color, so you can actually only see the glass here. I think that looks really cool. You can see lots of flickering here in the background. I believe that's lots of animated scenery. But yeah, with lots of usage of the void color, which makes some of the bits yeah, stand out and gives this flickering effect in the background, which I think is really cool. My favorite part of the entry was actually this house over here at the top of the coaster. Yeah, I guess this is some sort of portal. Yeah, not really sure how this works, but it all just looks really nice. Yeah, just a beautiful entry from Beautiful Monday. Alright, next entry is from The Brew. Another accelerator coaster, but this one actually goes around in a grotto. I think this looks really cool with all these plants, also the overhanging ones. But also the ones growing on the side of this mountain. Not sure what this is. Archer's blowing her elf horn. Alp horn. Oh, it's a horn. Actually, I hadn't spotted that the first time I saw the entry. But yeah, some cool houses over here. this entry looks like it is situated in an old town, maybe an old mountain town. You also see a sermon going on over here. You can see Monsignor Dirkling, the big cross over here. And this entry also had an Easter egg hidden somewhere in the map. At least that's what I read in the story, but I couldn't find it anywhere. So if you see an Easter egg in this map somewhere, let me know in the comments. Oh yeah, a really nice entry from the brew. Right, here's the entry from Ball Pit Warrior. Now, actually the coaster at the raid is this water coaster over here. He actually first submitted this entry with only this dinghy slide, but I told him a dinghy slide isn't a coaster. So then he actually extended the map and then added this water coaster. Now it's scored quite high, so I think that was a good choice. Now, I do think this lift structure does look a little bit weird. Usually for these coasters, the lift structure is actually quite close to the track, and then the track would actually follow the track to travel up. So yeah, probably these legs for this platform should have been situated a bit closer to the track here. Or maybe Ball Pit Warrior thought of some other way to lift this vehicle up. But yeah, I do think it looks pretty nice. It fits pretty well in this temple here, and it's just really nicely decorated. Love the colors here as well. And the rest of the map also looks incredible. It's just a really nice looking water park with some really neat tricks used in the places. For example, I love this wave pool here with these boats traveling back and forth and also going up and down like that. That's just a really neat trick. Yeah, just many cool rides in this park. Also love this trick here with the volcano with the smoke. That's also really neat. So yeah, a wonderful entry from Ball Pit Warrior. Alright, then we have the entry from Johnson. Johnson made a pair of dueling floorless coasters. They get launched in this building to an incredible speed. Then they travel up this pair of top hats, and then after that they travel through the rest of the layout. They travel quite fast. In the beginning it was even faster, but I recommended him to slow the trains down a bit, so that's what Johnson did. I think that definitely improves the ride a bit. Here you can see them get launched again. But yeah, I think the color scheme of the ride looks really nice. The support work is also done really nicely. And I also quite like the foliage and the decorations in the map. These, all these trees, I think they look pretty cool. I also like that there are some unusually colored trees. It's of course a fantasy setting, so everything is possible. And I think the building over here is also decorated really nicely. It's kind of in a goblin style, and I think it's just really nicely done. Alright, the next entry is from a newcomer. He tied for 6th place. This is the entry from Madazalk, or if you reverse it, it actually says glazed ham. It took me a while to actually realize that. But yeah, glazed ham recreated Rutsjebanen, which is a famous Danish roller coaster, which is actually one of the oldest coasters in Europe. But yeah, I think it's really nicely decorated. I love all this the scenery here with all these canyon pieces in these really nice colors. I think it works really well here, and the ride is just really fun to follow. I think he recreated the layout quite well, and also its decorations. Now the entire park looks nice. You can see bits and pieces of several other rides as well. I don't think I can pronounce Melkeveien, probably something like that, or Melkevegan, Milky Way. Here we can also see the park Star Flyer, and we can also see some of the impressive buildings that are in the park. And one of my favorite bits was actually this big stage that's over here. There's just so many cool details here. I was really impressed with this entry from this newcomer. Great job. Alright, here's the other entry that also got 6th place. This is the entry from Fidwell. Fidwell made this really cool El Loco inspired coaster. This one's called El Diablo. I think it has a really cool layout. And what I like most about this entry is the impressive support work that Fitwell did here. It's just insane with all these crazy looking supports. Must have been quite a headache to get all of them looking right. But yeah, it just looks really impressive. So yeah, I'm really impressed with that. Now there's also several other cool rides in the park. Here we can see this go-kart track, which I think also looks really cool. Also like how it goes inside the castle here. And of course here's the main eye-catcher of the entry, this huge castle over here. It actually also has a cave inside. This is probably where the lava comes from. But yeah, I think it's a really impressive entry from Fitwell. Really nice work. Right, here's the entry from Enox. Enox recreated Blue Streak, which is a coaster at Cedar Point, I believe. Yeah, I just love the support structure that he made for this coaster. This looks like it took quite a bit of work to get right. Yeah, the layout of the coaster also recreated quite faithfully. But also it all just looks really nice. Some nice footers for the ride as well. Yeah, and the surroundings of the ride also look really cool. I love this. Also, this monster truck tailgating this other car over here. That's quite funny. But yeah, sadly, this coaster, in real life also doesn't have the most impressive of surroundings. So yeah, the surroundings of the park, I think they look pretty bland, so to say. I think Enox did his best to make it look nice, and he definitely did make it look nice. But of course, there's just not much else to really grab your attention over here in this section of the park. But yeah, I do think Enox did a wonderful job here recreating this ride. Alright, here's the entry from Monster Bucks. Now, Monster Bucks did an absolute speed run to still finish this ride. I saw what it looked like 2 days before it was before the deadline, and Monster Bucks just did a lot of work to get this entry finished. But yeah, we see a lot of classic rides. Of course, the main ride is this switchback railway. Yeah, it actually has a lift inside here. So these cars actually travel up an invisible vertical track here. But you can also see a hoisting hook here. Yeah, this is probably maybe not timed completely correctly. But yeah, it's not that easy to see anyway. But yeah, I think Monster Bucks did an incredible job here. I love the feel that she gave the park. Definitely feels old. All these classic rides, I think they look really cool. Yeah, there's just so much cool stuff to see in this map. We can also see a shoot-to-shoot ride over here. Yeah, everything's just so nicely decorated here. The buildings all look really cool. Yeah, I definitely recommend you to check out this map for yourself. It just looks amazing, and Monster Bucks did an incredible job here. Alright, here's the entry from Risico. Risico created a Morgan Hypercoaster. Morgan Hypercoasters, I think they're also perfect for this contest, since their layouts are usually pretty simple. Yeah, I think that works pretty well here, as you can see. You can make these coasters really long. Typically just a big drop, and followed by several hills, a turnaround, and several more bunny hills, maybe an extra helix, and then back to the station. And that's exactly what Risico did here. I especially love this turnaround here, which is basically just a giant helix around this big building here. Now, for this contest, Risico actually used lots of concepts of buildings that were also built in previous contests, but he gave them his own. Yeah, he also gave it a bit of his own style, so to say. Yeah, you could also see this Virginia reel here, which is actually based on one that I made in an earlier contest or in an earlier park. Lots of these buildings have been featured in the Swag Shack. Yeah, for me it was quite fun exploring this park and seeing several buildings that have been made before, but now with a bit more detail here and there. But yeah, I thought this was a brilliant entry from Risico. I really enjoyed going through this park, and I think Risico did a really nice job here. Alright, there are just 2 entries remaining. I will first show both of them, and after that I will reveal which one is the winner of this round. Now here we have the entry from Manticore. Manticore recreated this coaster we all know, King Daka. Yeah, I think this is an incredible recreation. The ride, this looks really impressive. I really like the way that Manticore recreated the surroundings of the ride, but also the ride itself. I think it looks incredible. He also recreated the drop towers that are on the side of it. I believe the real one actually has 3 of them. Of course, Manticore only had space for 2 of them here. Or maybe it just looked nicer this way. But yeah, he did some interesting trickery here. We can see some stagecoaches here, which also travel up together with these vehicles. I think this is just some really nice trickery here. I think that looks really cool. Now over time they will desync though, so they will get stuck inside each other a little bit. But yeah, I think this is probably as good as you'll get it. Yeah, just some really cool interaction here. Yeah, I think Manticore did this in a really nice way. You can see them go up again. I could really watch this for a long time. But yeah, I really like how he did these paths here as well. All the foliage next to the track. The transfer track as well. It's Enox maintaining litter over here. Yeah, just so many nice and cool little details everywhere. Yeah, Manticore just did an incredible job recreating this ride. Wonderful work. Okay, and here's the final entry. This is the entry from Hobion. Very colorful entry, as you can see. Yeah, here's he made this single rail coaster, which travels throughout this entire entry, which jumps several times. There's just so many cool rides in this park. It's colorful rides everywhere. Yeah, this is just such a fun entry to watch. It's just really fun watching this coaster go around, traveling down and then later traveling back up again. But yeah, there's so many cool details as well. There's this walkway over here. Yeah, this just looks so cool with all these guests traveling up with these several tracks layered on top of each other. Several other rides here as well. It's this teleporter over here. Yeah, there's just so much to see everywhere you look. Once again, I really recommend you to go and check out this ride for yourself. There's just so much to see here. Yeah, this I'm at a loss for words. This is just so much fun to explore. Wherever you look, there's just fun things to look at. Also, clever tricks used everywhere, like these scrolling signs over here, for example, with these patterns. These running lights over here. Yeah, this is just an amazing entry once again from Hobion. I think he really outdid himself on this entry. This is just wonderful work. Alright, it's now time to reveal which one of these last 2 entries is the winner of this round. Is it this beautiful cyberpunk entry from Hobion, or is it the King Daka recreation from Manticore? The winner of the Narrow Coaster contest is... Hobion! Now, it probably doesn't come as a surprise. He scored quite a bit higher than Manticore. I think both had really great entries. Manticore's entry was more in a realistic style, and Hobion, of course, had a more fantasy-like entry. But yeah, both of them were really great. Yeah, I really recommend downloading these entries, checking them out for yourself. I can only cover so much in these videos, so there's probably lots of details here that I couldn't show you. But still, lots of incredible entries in this round. The next contest will be contest number 50. I have some special rules planned, so yeah, you'll hear about those pretty soon. If you want to join one of these contests, simply become a member on my Discord server. You can find the link in the video description. And yeah, it's as easy as reading the rules and then following those, and then you can join. Alright, hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please leave a like. It will take you only a second, and it tells me that you enjoyed this video, and it would really help out my channel. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you again in the next one. See you later.